In the heart of the bustling intergalactic city of Zion, where neon lights danced across towering alien structures and languages from 1,000 worlds intertwined in the air, humans were a rarity. The vibrant city, a melting pot of alien cultures and technologies, never seemed to rest. Among the diverse crowd, Ethan and his wife, Sarah, stood out like a puzzle piece from a different picture. They appeared as mere tourists, soaking in the sights on a long-awaited vacation, yet there was more to Ethan than met the eye. He had always been careful to keep his secrets buried. Sarah believed he was an ordinary man, a retired businessman who had finally left behind a stressful career. What she didn't know was that Ethan was no simple retiree. He was a former elite assassin, honed to perfection by one of Earth's most clandestine agencies. Each step he took through the alien streets was calculated, each smile a practiced facade. Yet, even a man trained to see danger lurking in every shadow could be caught off guard. As they strolled hand in hand through the bustling market district, a group of boisterous aliens crossed their path. Members of the notorious Drar gang, known for their cruelty and love of chaos, surrounded the couple. The gang's leader, a massive alien named Crux, sneered as he eyed Ethan and Sarah, a predatory grin stretching across his reptilian face. Well, what do we have here?" Crux taunted, his voice echoing with menace. "Humans, so far from home. How quaint." Ethan's pulse quickened, but he kept his expression neutral. Years of training drilled into him to never give away emotion. He knew Zion was no place to draw attention, especially not for humans, who were viewed as inferior. Yet, Crux's sneer deepened as he gestured to his gang. They quickly encircled the couple, cutting off any escape route. "Ethan," Sarah whispered, gripping his arm tighter. Her voice trembled, but she tried to stay brave. "Can we just leave?" Ethan's calm exterior belied the storm brewing beneath. He knew they were trapped, but he forced himself to nod. "We don't want any trouble," Ethan said, keeping his voice even, but Crux wasn't interested in letting them go. The alien leader stepped closer, towering over them with a mocking grin. "Leaving so soon?" "But we were just getting to know each other," Crux jeered, eyeing Sarah with a predatory gleam. "Maybe your wife would like to see what a real man looks like." Ethan's muscles tensed, but he held his composure. Any sudden move would blow his cover and put Sarah at risk. His mind raced, calculating every possibility, but Crux, misreading Ethan's silence, chuckled cruelly. "What's wrong, human? Cat got your tongue, or are you just a coward?" Sarah, terrified yet defiant, stepped forward. "Leave us alone," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "We don't want trouble." Crux's grin widened, and he grabbed Sarah's arm. "I like her feisty," he mocked, tightening his grip. "Why don't you give us a little show, sweetheart?" Time slowed. The air crackled with tension as Ethan's instincts screamed to life. Ethan sprang into action, his movements a blur. Training that he had buried deep came roaring back, and in mere seconds he had Crux on the ground. His every motion was swift, precise, and lethal. The crowd gasped, unable to process how a mere human had overpowered the Drar gang leader. Crux stared up at Ethan in shock, cradling his broken arm. Who are you?" Crux stammered, eyes wide with fear. Ethan's gaze was as cold as the void between stars. "Someone you should never have crossed," he said, his voice dangerously calm. Taking Sarah's hand, he led her away, her expression a mix of fear and confusion. The reality of what she had witnessed started to sink in. Ethan had just revealed the man he had fought so hard to keep hidden. And now, there was no turning back. "I promise you, Sarah," Ethan whispered, his voice steady but filled with a desperation she hadn't heard before. "I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe." Sarah searched his eyes, looking for the man she had fallen in love with. The same warmth and kindness were there, but beneath the familiar gaze, she noticed something new, a hardened edge, a darkness she had never seen before. She swallowed, uncertainty swirling within her. "I believe you," she said at last, though doubt still lingered in her voice. "But we can't keep running forever." Ethan nodded, the weight of their situation pressing down on him. She was right, but he couldn't think of a solution yet. All he could do was keep them safe for now. "We'll figure it out," he assured her, squeezing her hand. They were in this together, whether she fully trusted him or not. Chapter 4: Shadows of the Past. The ship carrying Ethan and Sarah sliced through the black void of space, leaving the chaos of Zion far behind. But distance could not erase the emotional gulf between them. Sarah sat in silence, lost in a storm of confusion and fear. Images of Ethan fighting, his brutal efficiency in dispatching the Drar gang, replayed in her mind. The man she thought she knew had turned into a stranger in an instant, and his carefully hidden past now felt like a shadow over their entire relationship. Ethan, meanwhile, was deep in thought, his mind racing with plans. The Drar gang wouldn't forgive the humiliation he had inflicted on them. They would be relentless. He had to find a place to hide, somewhere off the grid where they could regroup. But more pressing than the physical threat was the emotional one, the growing distance between him and Sarah. Breaking the tense silence, Ethan turned to her, his expression somber. "Sarah, I know you're scared," he said softly. "And I understand if you're angry. But I need you to know that everything I've done to protect you." Sarah's eyes met his, brimming with uncertainty. "How could you keep something like this from me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "All this time, you've been living a double life. How am I supposed to trust you now?" Guilt washed over Ethan, more intense than any fear he had ever felt. He had always known that his secrets would catch up with him one day, but he had never imagined it would hurt Sarah so deeply. "I wanted to leave that life behind," he said quietly, the regret heavy in his voice. "I wanted to be someone different, someone normal, for you. But I realize now that I should have told you the truth from the start." Sarah sighed, running a hand through her hair. "It's just, I feel like I don't even know you anymore. The man I saw back there, the one who took down a gang like it was nothing, that wasn't you. It was like watching a stranger." Ethan's expression tightened, but he nodded. "I know. And I'm sorry. That part of me, the part that's a fighter, a killer, it'll always be there. But it doesn't change how I feel about you. I love you, Sarah, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect you." Sarah looked down, wrestling with her emotions. The fear and confusion were suffocating, but so was the love she still felt for him. "I just need time," she said at last, her voice breaking. "Time to understand everything." Ethan reached out, his touch gentle and tentative. "Take all the time you need," he said. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Sarah managed a small, uncertain smile. "I know. And I do love you, Ethan. But everything feels so complicated now." Their destination loomed ahead, a desolate, uninhabited planet known for its seclusion. Ethan guided the ship to a safe landing, the barren landscape a stark contrast to the bustling city they had left behind. As the engines cooled, he set to work, securing the area and reaching out to old allies. If they were to survive, he needed support, even if it meant diving back into the dangerous world he had left behind. One of the first to respond was Marcus, an old colleague who had once been part of the same secretive organization as Ethan. Marcus had never fully cut ties with the underworld and had resources Ethan desperately needed. "Ethan, it's been a long time," Marcus's voice crackled over the communicator. "Heard about what happened on Zion. You always did know how to make an impression." Ethan smirked, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Not the kind I wanted to make," he replied. "I need help. The Drar gang is after us. We need to disappear." Marcus paused, considering. "The Drar, huh? Nasty bunch. But I think I can help. I've got contacts who can keep tabs on them and give you a warning if they make a move." Relief flooded Ethan. "Thanks, Marcus. I owe you one." Marcus chuckled. "You owe me more than one, but we'll call it even for now. Be careful, Ethan. There are plenty of people looking for you, and not all of them are friendly." As the communication ended, Ethan felt the burden of their situation settle heavily on his shoulders. He knew that running could only keep them safe for so long. Sooner or later, he would have to face his enemies head-on. For now, though, he was focused on keeping Sarah safe and rebuilding the trust he had shattered. That night, Sarah found Ethan sitting outside their makeshift outpost, staring at the endless field of stars. She joined him in silence, the vastness of space reflecting the distance between them. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice low but resolute. "Sarah, I know everything has changed," he began, breaking the stillness. "I know I've hurt you, but I'm going to do everything I can to make this right. I want us to have a real future together." Sarah's expression softened, and she looked at him, tears welling in her eyes. "I want that too, Ethan. But it's going to take time. We have to rebuild the trust. Ethan nodded, his determination unwavering. One step at a time, he said, reaching for her hand. Together. Under the starlit sky, the weight of their challenges felt slightly lighter. It would be a long, uncertain road, but as they sat side by side, Ethan felt a renewed sense of hope. With Sarah by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. The isolation of the remote planet wrapped around them like a comforting but heavy blanket, providing the space they desperately needed, both physically and emotionally. Every day brought a new challenge for Sarah as she tried to reconcile the man she loved with the assassin she had only just discovered. The alien sunsets painted the sky in brilliant hues, a quiet reminder of the beauty they were hiding within, even as shadows loomed over their past. One evening, as they sat outside the outpost, bathed in the amber glow of a setting sun, Marcus's call came through. "Ethan," Marcus's voice crackled over the communicator, "I've got some good news. The Drar gang is in disarray after the beating you gave them. There's infighting and power struggles. They're too busy fighting amongst themselves to worry about coming after you." Ethan felt a wave of relief wash over him. Finally, a small break. "That's good to hear," he said, exhaling a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "But I'm not taking any chances. We'll stay low for a while longer, just to be safe." Marcus agreed. "Probably a good idea. But if you need anything, you know how to reach me. And Ethan, take care of yourself and Sarah." Ethan ended the call and turned to Sarah, who had been listening intently. "Looks like we're safe for now," he told her, a gentle smile touching his lips. "The Drar are too busy dealing with their own mess." Sarah nodded, a hint of relief easing her features. "That's good news," she said, her smile small but genuine. "But what about us, Ethan? What do we do now?" Ethan took a deep breath, the weight of all his past decisions pressing heavily on him. "I think it's time we start fresh," he said, his voice filled with quiet determination. "Somewhere new, where we can build a life together without the shadows of my past hanging over us." Sarah looked thoughtful, the idea of a clean slate both tempting and terrifying. "I like that idea," she admitted. "But how do we move forward? How do we rebuild trust after everything that's happened?" Ethan reached out, taking her hand gently. "One day at a time," he promised. "No more secrets. No more lies. From here on out, I'll be honest with you about everything. We'll work through it together." Sarah squeezed his hand, her smile growing warmer. "I want that too," she said, her voice carrying a spark of hope. "A fresh start. Just the two of us." Days turned into weeks as they adjusted to their new reality. The process of healing was slow and often painful, but each conversation they shared brought them closer. Ethan opened up about his past, the missions, the regrets, the fears he had tried so hard to bury. In turn, Sarah expressed her own feelings of betrayal and confusion, and together they began to mend the fractures in their relationship. The love they had once shared started to blossom anew, stronger and more resilient. One morning, as they planned their next steps, Marcus called with news that shattered the fragile peace they had built. "Ethan," he said, his tone grave, "there's something you need to know. The Drar gang isn't the only group looking for you. Your old organization, they've put out feelers. They're trying to find you." Ethan's heart sank. The very organization he had worked so hard to escape was back in the picture. "Do you know what they want?" he asked, his voice tense. Marcus hesitated. "It's hard to say. Maybe they want you back. Maybe they see you as a loose end. Either way, it's not good." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. The organization was powerful, ruthless, and unrelenting. They wouldn't hesitate to eliminate any perceived threats. "Thanks for the heads up, Marcus," Ethan said, the tension in his shoulders mounting. "We'll be careful." As the call ended, he turned to Sarah, his face serious. "It looks like we're not out of the woods yet," he told her. "My old organization is looking for me." Sarah's eyes widened with fear. "What does that mean?" she asked. "Are we in danger?" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It means we have to be careful," he said, his voice heavy with determination. "But we can't keep running forever. Sooner or later, we have to confront them, put an end to this once and for all." Sarah's worry was evident. "But Ethan, they're powerful. We can't just go up against them alone." Ethan nodded. "You're right. We'll need help, old allies, people we can trust. And we'll need to be smart. Over the next few weeks, Ethan did just that. He reached out to trusted contacts, gathering allies and resources for the inevitable confrontation. It was a risky move, but one he knew was necessary if they were ever to secure a future together. Sarah stood by him every step of the way, her confidence in him growing stronger with each passing day. The day of reckoning finally arrived. With Marcus and a small team of loyal allies at their side, Ethan and Sarah confronted the organization's operatives in a tense meeting. Ethan stood firm, refusing to be intimidated, and laid out his demands. They were done running. He and Sarah were no longer under the organization's control, and they would not be pursued any further. To Ethan's relief, the operatives agreed, though their reluctance was clear. They had no desire to escalate the situation, not with Ethan's skills and connections standing against them. As the meeting ended, Ethan felt a heavy weight lift from his shoulders. They were finally free. With the danger behind them, Ethan and Sarah left the remote planet, ready to start the life they had always dreamed of. They traveled to a peaceful, distant colony where they could finally breathe easy. One evening, as they sat on the porch of their new home, watching the sky turn from gold to deep indigo, Sarah turned to Ethan, a smile lighting up her face. "We did it," she said, her voice full of wonder. "We made it through." Ethan smiled back, his heart full of gratitude. "Yeah, we did. And now we have a whole new life ahead of us." Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder, her eyes glistening with contentment. "No more secrets," she whispered. "Just us." Ethan kissed her forehead, his voice soft and full of love. "Just us," he echoed. As the stars blinked to life above them, Ethan knew that the road ahead would still have its challenges. But with Sarah by his side, he felt ready for whatever the future had in store. Together, they had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. Now, they could finally build the life they had fought so hard to protect, a life of love, trust, and new beginnings.